Okay, welcome. This is the, I want to say example, this is a live demonstration. This is a live healing live stream. This is what we do in the Reality Awareness Haven. I opened the Reality Awareness Haven this month, and our first Haven Healing live stream was fire. It was fire. So I've been called to hold this one publicly, and that's what we're doing today. So I'll explain how it works just shortly. For now, I'm just gonna let a few people join, and I'm just going to share this live stream as I always do. I just all of a sudden got like really nervous. I was like sitting here and like just tuning in and preparing, and I was just like, woof, got really nervous. I was like, you know, when people come to me and they're wanting to build their online business, or they're wanting to start doing healings or readings, and they're like, I'm really scared, I'm really nervous. And I'm like, I still get nervous, and I've been doing this for years. I think it's normal. And like, I want to say, like, any successful person that you see or look up to or admire, or, you know, they all have nerves. Except the difference between you and them is they get up and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Like the Nike slogan is like a thing, okay? Just little, you know, side note introduction there. Okay, so I'm just gonna share this live stream. Okay, if I bring it up here. I'm excited for this live too. I'm nervous and excited because it is pretty exciting. With what we did the other day, oh my gosh, it's going to be fire. I do feel like it'll be a bit of fire coming through, for sure. Healing fire, healing and clearing fire, if you may. Okay, so just concentrating on this one now. Okay, just sharing it in one more place, and then I'll be right with ya. Can't hear me. So just checking people can hear me. Yes, spirit is fire. It's an element of it, in a way. All right, trusting that you guys can hear me. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this up here. Okay, so people can hear me. So you might just want to check your volume settings, etc. Okay, how can I invest without capital? Are we talking business? Because that's a whole different conversation to what we're doing today. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. A bit like psychic readings, I won't be able to get to everyone, but I would be surprised if everyone wants to volunteer. Hey, maybe you do. Awesome. But literally how I work this is, same with psychic readings, I'm going to pick, you know, intuitively, you know, who I'm being guided to help in this moment. So, okay. It's very intuitive, of course. How it's going to work is somebody needs to volunteer and they need to share, okay? And basically what you can do is just type it in the comments. I'm definitely going to do a couple of people for sure. If I'm typing, it's because I'm taking notes. And basically I will be asking a series of questions as well, intuitive questions that come through to ask you to help open up and dig a little deeper. Some of you I know, and I know a little bit of your history, so you know, just, I don't know, it's already there in a way. Other people might be a first time that I've ever sort of worked with you, so it can be, I might ask questions, of course. I will ask questions. Like I said, if I'm typing, it's because that's how this session works. So basically I take a lot of notes and then I get the healing protocol downloaded as well. So, okay, so if you're going to volunteer, basically you need to tell me what's going on for you. So you'll be typing it in the comments. If you can do it in one block comment would be awesome, just especially the start. Basically you need, you know, if you've got a physical health issue, if you've got like an emotional issue, spiritual issue, like it can be anything, okay? But especially if there is a physical health issue, then you need to tell me about it, okay? So if you want to, like, you know, you're saying, yes, I'll volunteer. So basically type it in. You have to be willing to be open and vulnerable and share all on this live stream, basically. Yeah, so if you want to volunteer, awesome. I see some volunteers there. So just type away and start telling me like what is the physical illness or ailments that you've got going on. Is it sore shoulders? Is it cancer? Is it, you know, like what's happening, right? Is it a broken heart? Are you having like astral, like, you know, what's the infiltrations? Like what's happening? Like when you're sleeping, can you not sleep? Like, are you tired all the time? Like, have you been to the doctor? Like, tell me all. So I know there's a bit to type in there if you're going to do that. So I'll just happily wait for that to come through. When I quote unquote dive into helping you, the way that I speak when I start helping somebody is I'm literally giving voice to what's going on in there, yeah? Hello, I see these new people joining. Welcome, welcome. So, hey, Damon. Yeah, so if you're just joining and you want help and support with this, so you have to literally type in the comments. So do it in one big block. So do it, you know, and tell me like what's the physical issues going on, what's the emotional, what's, you know, all of these things happening, yeah? I'll get to as many people as I can, and I'll be asking you guys that I choose a lot of questions as well. Okay, so Virginia, when you say, how is my emotional me doing since my divorce last year? So, like, what do you mean? Like, are you upset? When you say, like, how's my emotional me? And I'm like, I'm sure you would know how your emotional self has been since your divorce last year. Like, what else is happening there? Okay, so Karen says, yes, the heart valve and the teeny speck on the kidney. Okay, so I'm just going to start. So like I said, I'll just be typing these out as well. So just give me a moment. Okay, Billy, that's huge. Okay, so because I'm doing a few people and I'll be asking questions like, you know, and I know I sound like disconjointed if you're just joining, but, you know, and if you're just joining and you just want to listen in, just, you know, you can always come back to this live stream, but to get the whole understanding, you want to sort of listen to the whole, like a big chunk in a way, especially because the fire comes at the end usually with what we experience. If you can't savor the whole thing, come back and re-listen. You can listen while you're multitasking, hanging the washing out, etc. Okay. My live stream's always long, but it's when you listen to the whole thing, you get the whole, it's just like, woof, there it is. Okay, so Billy, when you say you have water on my brain and it causes so many other medical problems and I am bone on my knees and can barely walk, that's huge. Okay, so Billy, can you please let me know how old you are and when did this begin for you? Like when did all these issues start? Was the bone stuff there first, or was the water on the brain stuff? And when did they discover the water on the brain? I know it's a lot of questions, but I just need those things. Okay. So Christina, so this is awesome. So when you're typing it, it's awesome if you give me as much information as possible. So Christina, physical health at the moment, been sick all week but recovering a lot of the time. Also been wearing a mask the entire time. Is that because you have to for work? From touching a surface, been to the doctor, could also begin a new job in the middle of the month, but unsure. Okay, so are you saying that you're sick all week because from touching a surface? Is that what you're saying? Just need a bit more clarity there. Okay. Awesome, Michelle. Okay. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, Michelle says, my 15-year-old daughter suddenly left me 5 months ago to live with her dad indefinitely. Very common at that age, by the way. Haven't seen her a lot during this time. I hadn't seen her for 6 weeks because her dad is no longer insisting that she see me. Ouch. We saw each other last Sunday at a family gathering. She didn't want to speak with me much and acted uncomfortable and standoffish around me. I feel like us seeing each other at the family thing may have made our situation worse and less likely that she will start seeing me again regularly, which is what I was hoping for. Her dad has said he is not going to insist she sees me anymore. I was expecting to resolve by now and really want to repair the relationship and have her live with me again. I have an 18 centimeter ovarian cyst at the moment. Okay, that's fucking huge. Okay, so Michelle, is she your only daughter? Okay, 5 months ago. Okay, so is she your only daughter? How old are you? And when was the ovarian cyst discovered? Okay, so Debbie, will my ongoing bad health this year end? Okay, so something like that I can't answer. I need more information. What bad health is it? How long has it been going on? What are you doing to work with that? Like, will my ongoing bad health this year end? Well, it's like, well, what are you doing to help that? Are you changing a diet? Are you, like what other things are you doing? Like, are you doing detoxes for your body? Are you exercising? Like those sorts of things, right? Your bad health can heal itself. The body's natural state is pure, unadulterated health, but we have to support it in the right environment. Yeah? Okay, so Billy, I have water on my brain and it causes so many other medical problems and I'm bone on bone on my knees and I can barely walk. So you're 48 and it was discovered 6 years ago. The water was found before the knees. Okay. Okay, so because I'm doing you guys publicly and I don't know you guys, like I'm finding I'm asking a lot more questions than I do in the Haven because I don't know you guys yet. So Billy, like that's huge, right? Water on the brain and stuff. And straight away it's kind of like, okay, there's an emotional leak. Like water always signifies emotions, yeah? Knees are very connected to family lineage and not even childhood stuff. I mean, everything goes back to childhood, right? And beyond, but childhood's a big one. So you're 48 and then also, what was the other question I was going to ask then? Okay, so a few questions more for you, Billy. Have you worked with a healer on any of this sort of stuff before or is it just medical doctors? Also, do you have contact with your family still? Do you have support with people like helping you through this or are you doing it on your own? And so the water was found before the knees. And do you cry? And do you cry? So 48 and then 6 years ago. Okay, and I'll wait to hear back from you there. Okay, so Michelle, yes, she is. Just checking here. So bear with me. I'm just making sure I don't lose these comments because I know after a while they do. I know this seems boring, guys, at the start. Bear with me. I mean, it might not be the live stream for you, but it's a little bit of a digging and then the fire comes. Okay, so Christina, yes, the doctor says from touching a surface. Interesting. So I'm sanitizing everything a lot and everything. And I want to ask you, Christina, do you truly believe that your sickness is from touching a surface? Question. Okay, so Michelle. Yes. Okay, so you're 44 years of age. In April is when you realized it. Okay, yeah, so she's your only daughter. Okay. That would be pretty heartbreaking. Now, next question for you, Michelle, is when you were 15, what was going on for you in your life? Was there something similar? Did you get kicked out of home? Were your family together? You know, like, were you together with your family? Was it all rosy? Was it all good? Did you hate on your mom when you were 15, 14, 15, like even 14 to 16? And so 44. Even Michelle, when you're about 23-ish, if it wasn't around 14, 16, if you're around 23-ish, what was going on for you? And how long have you been separated with her father? Okay, Billy says it acts like a tumor. The spinal fluid does not drain off my brain and it will cause blindness and have severe migraines daily. Vertigo and spine. I always cannot cool down and always hot. This has been for 6 years now. Yeah, this is huge. So just medical doctors. Okay, so Billy, just medical doctors. I've not spoken to my parents in 5 years. Yes, I cry. I'm severely depressed. Okay, so it's interesting. So it was six years ago, and then you haven't spoken to your parents for 5 years ago. And I'm just curious, so what was the relationship like before you got diagnosed with your parents, and then all of a sudden you got diagnosed and now you're not speaking to them? Like, was it because of the illness? Was it something else? Like, I feel like it's deeply connected to that. And especially if you're saying, like, you know, you're going to cause blindness and stuff, it's kind of like, okay, well, I don't want to see, right? Of course, it's like the spinal fluid, pressure on the brain, like, it's all very physical, but there's always a metaphysical, right? And it's like the spinal fluid won't drain. It's kind of like, yeah, is there a drain, right? And I feel like the drain as well is like, I feel like with what you've been in, is there something wrong with me? And like physically, there fucking is at the minute, okay? But when we look deeper, there's something wrong with me. I haven't amounted to anything, okay? So here's what I'm starting to channel through of what's been buried and is like pushing, it's pushing in through your brain, like the spinal fluid and your knees. It's like, and I don't want to walk any further. I'm done with this life. I don't want to go any further because this is, I'm out. Right? Okay. Okay, yeah, you cut ties to emotional health. Okay. So, you're alone in this. My parents were abusive and manipulative. Okay, I had to cut ties to my emotional health. Okay, there is something wrong with me. Okay, now there's actually something physically wrong with me. Okay, so you're being emotionally abusive and manipulative. I'm cutting ties, right? But the deep down belief, if it's like at 40, 48, like you've cut ties, okay, for all your life, you must have been in this, okay? And finally you're like, I'm done, okay? I'm done with this, yeah? I'm freaking done, right? And so that's the physical cutoff, right? But now that belief after all these 48 years is like, there must be something wrong with me. There's something, and so we manifest something wrong with us, okay? It's like this whole thing of like, there's something inherently wrong with me. And now there actually is something wrong with me and I'm all alone in this because you left me alone all these years to deal with this I'm not enoughness, right? This is the deep down feelings that are coming through, okay? When I talk like this, I'm not talking at you. This is giving your feelings a voice, okay? And so when we are deep down in this, okay, when we are deep down in this and your knees now don't want to walk any further, and now I also don't want to see it. I want to see this reality that I've created because at 48, how is this my fucking life? How has it come to this? How? And it's almost like this frozen, like, how? It's almost like you've just woken up. You've just like, how the fuck, what, how? I can't. Stop, it's too much. In there. That's what's happening. Okay? And it's like this spinal, like, it's interesting with the spine because that's your spine. You either have a spine or you don't. And what I mean, again, I'm talking metaphysics, okay? Talking the feelings behind. I have a spine. But now the spine's broken. i.e. it doesn't work properly, spinal fluid. The emotions are trying to fucking come out. Because for all this time I've had to put up with it. And look what you've done to me. So when I say, look what you've done to me, this is the finger, okay, and we're blaming them, okay? Just like I was talking about on the live stream the other day, when we're in a healing space with our therapist, with our own feelings and crying, it is important to be okay to blame. It's part of healing, okay? We're not physically standing in front of them telling them that everything in my life is your fault, okay? That's not what we're doing. But if we don't let these feelings have a voice because it's part of the truth of how you feel, okay? Because as your mum and fucking dad, they shouldn't be treating their child like that, okay? It's standard humanitarian. You should be fucking kind to children, like love them, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, in the older generation, no offense, not everybody, okay, but there's not many conscious parents in the elder generation, okay? There definitely is, but majority, no. Same with, yeah, that's kind of standard in any generation, ultimately, okay? So, okay, so Billy says, I was always told I was bad and not wanted. I was told I was my mum's slave and I will fear her because she was superior and I'm inferior. Exactly, okay? And so these feelings is like, you know, if you really want to heal like this brain stuff, like of course you need the physical doctor stuff, etc. Like there's some serious stuff going on, okay? 100%. But it's so important that you get these feelings out, like the real, like I feel like inside of you, there is internal rage. Like there's this fucking fire inside of you that just wants to freaking send them to hell, right? Burn the fucking house at the whole, and you fuck it. And then on top of that, it's like, and how is this my life? How? And then it's just like, and I don't know what to do about this. And it's like, I can't take it. Another breath, because the fucking rage and tears that would just want to come out is just paralytic. Hence the knees. I don't want to walk any further. I can't. I don't know how. I'm all alone. How am I supposed to heal from this? Do you know what the worst and the most fucking horrific thing someone said to me recently? It was really like, you know, and those worst and horrific things that people say to you is like, you know, obviously the biggest healing. Because I was just like, but how the fuck are we supposed to heal if that is like, you know, what's happening, right? Like how the fuck are we supposed to heal alone? You know, this is my biggest thing of like, there is so many people out there and they need love. Right? And I'm talking myself as well. I'm like, I am pretty alone. I've fucking even manifested being alone on 250 acres, for fuck's sake. Like, you can't get much more alone, right? I've removed myself from society, blah, blah, blah. And it was all a subconscious connection to my family, whom I've lived on the other side of Australia for 20 fucking years, because I've had property in both my lineages my whole fucking life. So even though I've manifested alone, I've manifested the closest thing to my family as possible, even though I'm alone. But if you really look at the scenario, I'm like, both in my bloodlines, There's been property in every fucking generation. And here I am on property. Oh, how about that? There's a subconscious tie to family is huge. And this is when we look at the next level of healing is underneath of how we are keeping ourselves stuck to stay in that connection with our family because it's all we have. Even it's so subconscious. If you really take a look at your life and look around how people treat you, the environment that you're in, like if I look at the house, if I look at the property, like all of that, it's like a direct connection to my family. Even though like I lived on the other side of Australia, they disown me because of what I do, blah, 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 like all of this stuff. If I look at what I've also manifested is still trying to have some sort of connection with them, right? And this is why a lot of people say manifesting doesn't work. Healing doesn't work because it's so deep in the subconscious that we do everything we can and we know we have to get away from it. And at the same time, this is so deep in staying in connection with them to receive connection, validation, love in a way we know we can, right? The next sort of level onto that, of course, is always about obviously like learning the deepest self-love, right? Learning the deepest self-love, learning the deepest understanding of how we learn that. It's on my phone, can't get it. I actually pulled a card yesterday of the wolf out of the Druid deck and it was reversed. And it was about being alone and how being alone is actually the greatest, I don't know what the right words were in the thing, can't remember it from memory, but it's like when you're alone, you learn your power. And even though there's aloneness, and I was talking about this the other day, there's different types of aloneness for sure, and different levels of maturity of aloneness, right? But in that aloneness, we're learning our power. And if we understand the phases of aloneness we go through in our life, it is because we are mastering a certain understanding and level of our own power. And that just is so true. Yeah? It's so hard to heal ancestral trauma. Yes and no. Yes and no, depending on who you're working with, what tools you're in, etc. I want to say it's always a I don't know, evolutionary thing. It's a there's always layers with it, I should say, as well. Yeah. Always take the pointing finger analogy to mind when contemplating. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like that's always something we need to be aware of. But at the same time, we also need to get the blame out. It's called draining the blame thread. Like it is so important or you'll never move past it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going, okay, Billy says that's exactly how I feel. Okay, and this is the thing that you need to let yourself like fully feel, like without guilt, right? Like if you're like, oh, I shouldn't feel like that. Oh, I should forgive. And I would just, like that'll come later, okay? That will come later. Forgiveness and all the spiritual teachings will come later. But when we're trying to heal, if we are not authentic with the depth of what's buried in there will never shift, okay? Because any illness, physical, emotional, spiritual, anything is a suppression of feelings that you push down for some reason, shape or form. Yeah? Okay, this is amazing. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to finish here with Billy and then come back to, okay, so Billy says, I hate myself. I don't feel like I will ever be loved by anyone again. Been alone now for years and probably will stay that way. It's important to also be authentic and feeling like, and I'll probably stay that way forever. That is also a valid feeling, okay? If we're like, oh, well, you know, I should manifest love and maybe someone out there will love me. Like, okay, we'll get to that. Be okay with being authentic in like, I'm going to be alone forever. You grieve that, you fully own that, you fully live into that, and then you also manifest what you want. But sometimes you might be like, but actually, I'm fucking okay being alone. Let's be real here, okay? Let's be really real. I don't think anyone will ever love me, okay? We all know the spiritual guru bullshit. You've got to love yourself first. We've got to love ourselves. We've got to do this love, blah, 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 blah. Self-love before, okay, we got it, okay? We got it. We know the spiritual guru teachings, okay? Let's talk real subconscious, shifting, rewriting, healing, and then creating a new reality, okay? We don't want to bypass what's stuck in there, because otherwise we end up at an age and we're like, how the fuck is this my life? How did this all subconscious manifest? Okay, see, Leanne, I do like being alone and I don't. Okay, and this is the key. This is the key. I don't like being alone. I don't feel loved. I hate myself. I'll probably stay this way forever. Blah, 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 blah. We know the drill. We know the story. We know the train of thought. And then we're like, oh, we shouldn't think like that. We've got to think positive. And all of a sudden, we've just pushed it straight back down. Okay? What we need to do in this space is really own that. Let's be real. I actually don't fucking want to be with anybody. Okay? Right now, I don't. That's the truth. I'm just going to talk for you for a minute. Really, I've got this spinal fluid brain stuff. I can't fucking walk. I'm in a lot of pain all the time. I imagine you're in a lot of pain. I don't have family. I don't even fucking like myself. Like, let's be real. If we really look at it, right now, I don't fucking want to be around anybody. I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want anybody. I've just copped this for my whole fucking life from my parents. I've cut them off. I don't want to be around them. And then I also have just like got all this physical stuff going on. Like, you know, those things of like, I don't know how anyone's going to love me in this space. I don't even fucking love me in this space. And the reality is, I just want to be alone right now so that I can be in my full feelings of like how fucked up this is. I don't want to fucking actually be around anybody, because if I'm around anybody, actually I have to put on this like brave front and like be a different person. I don't want to fucking do that, because I've done that my whole fucking life, and that's what I'm releasing right now. Like, let's be real, okay? That forever, in 10 years' time, maybe you see yourself with somebody. Maybe you want to be with someone. Maybe you don't want to be alone for the rest of your life. That's probably definitely true right now as well. But let's be real with the healing in the right now and be really authentic right fucking now. I actually don't want anybody, okay? And that helps you be present and fully deal with what's going on. When you actually own the fact that right now you don't want to be with anybody, everything shifts. Why? Because you've just arrived here in the very present moment. You're not wishing away. You're not thinking about the past. You're actually owning your reality of the right now, that I'm really fucked up right now. I fucking hate it. How did I get to this point? And this is the healing. This is the true healing, okay? Because we also know that anybody that walks into our life right now, we will never, ever feel love from them no matter how hard they try. Why? Because we're so fucking wounded from our parents. That's why. And that will never shift. And here's where that spiritual guru teaching comes in. Until you love yourself, you will never feel love from somebody else. The amount that you love yourself, you will never love somebody or feel the love from somebody. Okay? And so when we can own that fact, that's when life begins. That's when we really not only heal, that's when we take our fucking power back and we take control of our life. I just wrote about a blog on control yesterday. That's when we take back control of our fucking life, and that's when we're not sitting there in victim mode, even though I hate using that word, okay, when we're not sitting there and like, oh, somebody's gonna save me, or like if someone would just love me. Like, we do feel like that, but where's that stemming from? That's stemming from our parents. That's stemming from our parents. Now, this isn't about blaming our parents. This isn't about like they're fucked up and they did this to us. Like, again, valid feelings, we need to get them out. But on a bigger scale, we're not blaming them. We know they did the best they can, blah, 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 blah. But we're talking about right now, we're talking about haven healing. We're talking about this is how we fucking heal, by feeling these feelings. And if any part of this is suppressed or denied, you will not heal and you will not manifest the reality that you really want. If you don't fully arrive in the fact of where you are right now, then this is where it will be. And these like key sayings, these key things, right, of what you say and you're just in the tears or whatever's coming out, right? Billy, you said, I hate myself. I don't feel like I will ever be loved by anyone again. Been alone for years now, probably will stay that way. It's like, this is how it is, right? And again, when I'm speaking, I'm not having a go at you, right? I know we've discussed that, right? But the way I'm speaking is these feelings. It's kind of like, I don't feel like I'll be ever loved by anyone again. I hate myself. I've been alone, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of like when you catch yourself in those words, okay? When you catch yourself in those words, what happens and comes through is when you can catch that and you're like, been alone for years. Yeah. I actually fucking don't want to be with anyone right now. Sure, I want love. Sure, I want a beautiful relationship. But right now, like if somebody walked into my life right now, do I actually want to be with them? Like if you really look at your life now, like where you live, your body, the way you're breaking down depressed every day, what you eat every day, like do you really want someone in your house around you like that? Like right this second, most people will go, actually no. And so what we're like thinking we want the most is actually what we're repelling the most because we don't even fucking want it right now. There's a readiness for being in a relationship. And that gets to a point in our life where we've been through enough relationships where we're going to be very picky and choosy who we let into our space. And that's something that you also need to own. Now, for example, Billy, you know, I'm just going to check these comments and there's a lot here. I'm just finishing Billy here and then I'll come back to the others. Billy says, oh my God, I'm in tears. You are speaking exactly what I think and feel. Exactly. This is the healing. This is the healing and the suppression. And this is where I always talk about going to a normal standard therapist, going to a counselor, whatever. All good. All good. If they can tap you into these feelings, if they can tap you into the truth and be totally okay with the depths and the rage and the freaking like all that. Like if somebody can't hold space for you in that, you will never heal because you will never be heard. You can do it yourself. 100%. Doing it with someone else like myself or someone who's trained through reality awareness. This is how I train people. This is how we heal. To feel the truth of the feelings that are buried in those illnesses. If not, it will stay there until it's given a voice, whether through you or somebody else. Yeah? When's the next Haven live? So the Reality Awareness Haven is $49 a month. Every week I tune in. So every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, I announce when the next live stream will be. Okay, so every week is a different time and day because I like to do all different time zones, plus checking in the flow and where it is in the week. I'm a person who doesn't like being locked into a schedule, so I will tune in every week. And so it gets announced every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time or Sunday. And I do different time zones because there's all different people around the world. So we do different places that can, you know, meet that. Okay. So, all right. So Billy, I feel like the biggest thing for you, like, is letting your feelings have a voice because of the spinal fluid. Like, even though it's spinal fluid, but water on the brain is the same thing in my opinion, right? Water, spinal fluid, it's water. The more you can be real and authentic with these feelings is the faster your body's going to go, whoa, I don't need to like try and get your attention anymore. Cool, you're hearing me, right? Now, your knees would be like speaking to like, do I really want to move forward in my life? Right? It does, like the knees do stem from like generational and like parents, but it is about moving forward and also about the power play, which you did say something about the inferiority. I was always told I was my mum's slave. I will fear her because she was superior and I'm inferior. And so this is the knees. Ooh, wobbling at the knees, so scared. Right? So big inner child work for you. Okay, I was just writing this down. So emotional authenticity. Getting anger out quietly is good by pushing against the door frame. So if you like push, like this is a good way to get anger out quietly. Boxing class at the gym, which is probably not available to you. But if there's anger that's coming out, drawing colors, painting, watercolor paints would be brilliant for you. You know, just painting whatever comes out. I'm not talking about like beautiful artwork. I mean, it might be, but let the colors, let the water go everywhere. Let it merge into, let it use reds and blacks and all sorts of colors. And then you might want to do beautiful pink love hearts or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like watercolor painting would be so healing for you. Again, when I say that, I'm not talking about beautiful pieces of art, like, you know, they're hanging in the art gallery, like, you know, like just make it messy. Yeah. Like just pick up colors, like be 2 years old again with your painting. Okay. That will be really healing because watercolor paints really taps into the emotions and drains all the shit out of your aura. Okay, so I'll just write this down. So watercolor painting. I'll just become 2 years old again while you're painting. You can buy watercolor paints, by the way, from in Australia, from like the $2 shop, really cheaply. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to cost much, and they're so healing. So become 2 years old again. It drains the crap out of your aura. And if you've been in that power play, manipulative, superior, inferior, like it's deep in the solar plexus, right? Which is liver, gallbladder, and letting all of that come out, because you're going to be, you know, it's like you've been scared, you've been underneath the whole time, right? Okay, so being honest about love, not wanting a partner right now. And the thing about being honest about not wanting a partner right now is it gives you space. It gives you space to heal. Like, it's almost like this subconscious block of like, oh, well, nobody will love me. Like, you know, I know that space very well. But then when we really own the fact, well, I actually don't fucking want anybody right this second, you know, maybe in a year, or maybe in like 2 years, or maybe in like, you know, like, I'm like, okay, I can do that. I'm like, and do you know what that does? It gives you motivation to heal. It gives you motivation to take care of yourself. It gives you motivation to get on with your life again. You know, eventually, maybe not in the thick of the emotions right now, but it does, right? So when you sort of catch those words, right? So, be honest about love with partner, give yourself time and space to heal. And then inner child work. So I've got my inner child meditation on my website. You can definitely use that. I'm sure there's a million modalities that you can use to work with inner child healing for sure. So, you know, but I'll just pop that in there anyway. So those would be the things that I would work with. But the biggest thing is the emotional authenticity and really letting yourself feel the depth of what you're feeling. The depression is the suppression of those emotions too. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this in a comment for you. Validating your feelings, 100%. I will work on healing my inner trauma and try painting. Yeah. And it's not like just trying painting, it's just always having it available, just always having it there. So just put that comment in. It's just the notes that I took and the sort of healing protocol at the end there for you. So you can copy that comment or screenshot it or whatever's easiest for you. Okay. So that was important to come through there. So just coming back to Michelle. So since my daughter was 5, so Michelle was saying originally, 15-year-old daughter suddenly left me 5 months ago to live with her dad indefinitely. Haven't seen her and discovered that you have an ovarian cyst a couple of months ago. 18 centimeters. Okay, so since my daughter was 5 months old, he didn't have a lot to do with her when she was young. So yeah, so that's pretty, like it's just been you two, right? I wasn't happy particularly in the school system. I am the oldest of 4 children, parents separated when I was nearly 8. Okay, so at that time, so I asked you what was going on when you were 14 to 16. You're the eldest of 4 children, parents separated when you were nearly 8. Just having a look at that. And I think you said you're 44 now. Yeah. Mum was always busy. Okay, so 44. I think I said, I'm sorry, I'm just double checking. Yeah, you're 44. Okay, Mum was always busy. I'm a black sheep, of course. I didn't want to do mainstream things and fit into expected work mentality. Interested in happy hippie traveling life. I knew that one. At 15, I started smoking pot. By 17, I smoked all day. I was a heavy pot smoker through my 20s, so I used pot to repress. Yes, I know that one too. I was from 13 to 21, I smoked every day. So I know that one well. I too was the eldest of 4 children, and I left my daughter's father when she was 3 months old. So a lot of similarities there. I get it. Okay, so I'm just checking if put other comments in. I'm just going to grab this comment out. So I'm just taking notes so I don't lose them. So just on, sorry, Erin, I just saw your comment there. So I'm so sick of trying to heal alone. So sad feeling like I don't have anyone. So yeah, that's a really, I want to say common feeling. I feel that a lot too personally, you know, and just, you know, I think we just need to do the best we can. And it's hard. It's so hard because it comes round and round and round. And when we can drop into that aloneness, and then like with the wolf, I would use the wolf totem energy really strongly. So like calling in the power animals. There's the animal spirit guide meditations you can do, or just call in the wolf, get photos of wolves, put them around your house, on your phone, etc. for a period of time to really bring in that wolf energy. And like I said, like just yesterday I pulled a card and it was very much around, you know, the reverse of the wolf was you're experiencing alone, but this is where you find your power. And when we can feel the depth of aloneness, when we can be in that and all the gross and horrible feelings that's in that space, at the same time we are conscious at the back of our mind that this is a power space. This is a power space. It's a clearing space. It's a healing space. And what it also is a big point of like finding what you want. Right? Because it's a bit like what I said with Billy. It's like, oh, nobody will love me. I'll be alone forever. And it's like, yeah. And then also when we look at it right now in the very second, do I really want somebody around in my house doing life with me? Yeah. No, not ready for that. Yeah. It is the hardest thing, sitting with those feelings, 100%. It's also very healing. There's a lot of power in being able to do that consciously. The conscious feeling is healing. It's not easy. It's not nice. Most of society doesn't do it. We're taught that it's not okay, that there's something wrong with us. That's a societal ingrainment as well. Okay. Okay, so Michelle, some big stuff coming out there, yeah? So my daughter said a couple months ago I've abused her whole life and that I've kept her away from her dad. So I know you probably know there's a lot of in like, you know, probably input there from father. I mean, maybe I'm totally off point here. That whole like abused her whole life. So if we just flick it around for a minute, when we look at how we heal with our parents, so there comes a point in our life and in our children's life and in everybody's life, there comes a point, it's usually between 15 and 25 years of age, goes up to about 28 to 35 years of age, but that 15 to 25 years of age is when we wake up to a like, my parents are fucked. Like on some level, they'll just be like, like, and it's a healing point. Yeah. And what it also is a separation point of them maturing and becoming adult, like energetically. as hard as it is, when we can know that and hold space for that, we still feel all the feelings, rejection, abandonment, hurt, pain, blah, 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 100%. Like, when we can know that's what's happening, we're able to hold space for it in a way. Now, accepting abuse, etc. is not okay, of course, right? But when we can see where it's coming from, even though it still fucking hurts, right? We know where it's coming from, that she's growing up energetically, emotionally, energetically separating. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yeah? Energetically separating. So what happens when we've been with someone for a long time? All stuff comes up because they're waking up, energetically separating. Yeah? Okay, so just checking here. Okay, Christina, you said definitely not. Like when I think that was when I asked you, like, do you believe that, you know, you're sick because of a surface that you touched? I think you said definitely not. I'm just going through comments there. Coming back to that in a moment. So Michelle says, I've done a lot of healing work and self-reflection and psychology and childhood trauma stuff since she has left, because I finally have the space and obvious motivation to look at myself and concentrate on myself. This week, however, I'm losing hope again about her coming back to me. Okay. And so what I would do is I would grieve the fact that she's left. Okay. I would grieve her leaving. I would grieve that you've lost her. Okay. What I want you to do is not deny that grief. Okay. I want you to drop into the grief as if she's never coming back. Okay. It is so important that you feel that and you heal that right now. Because do you know what, Michelle? The reality is that she's not ever energetically going to reconnect to you back again. Why? Because she's like 15. She's going to be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. She's going to be 30 years old. She's never going to be 14, 13, 12. She's never going to be that age again. And so you technically have lost her. You need to grieve that. This is the biggest thing that I see with clients. And, you know, and this is part of like something that's been lost in society so bad, right? You know, those like grandparents that are like, so like, you're gonna have kids here, 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 you're gonna have kids here. Like they're like hounding, right? You know, or they're like, you know, wanting to always be around, like, or they're like so sad that they've like had empty nesters. Like, these are the people that have not grieved the stages and the rituals of their child growing up. If you do not grieve those stages and rituals of your child growing up and fucking honor it for what it is, you will always hold them at that age. And also you're stuck here rather than being present with them as a 25-year-old, for example. It is so important for you right now, Michelle, to grieve like she is never coming home. If you do not, that longing and holding on will hold it back. She may never come back, like 100%. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But the best you can do is grieve the fact that not only she's like left home at 15 and this is going on, like fucked up situation, okay? Like really hard for you, 100%, right? Probably worst thing in the world. But what's really important is that you've also grieved the fact that you're now 44, she's 15, you've been a single mom, I'm assuming, you know, like this is your life. Like you need to grieve this. Grieve the fact that she's 12, 13, 14, 15. She's not a little girl anymore, right? If you do not grieve the depth of that, energetically you're pushing her away, because it's like that, when are you having kids? Come home, go to do this, let's do this. Like, it's like those parents that have got no purpose, right? But being a parent. And it's so important. Like, please know I'm not making fun of what's happening, right? I trust you guys know where I'm coming from when I'm expressing the emotions. That's what I do. So we get an understanding of it. Yeah? When we can really understand that, you know, like for example, right? And there's still tribes that do it today. Like when a child hits maturity at 7 to 8 years of age, when hormones start changing, and then the boys hit puberty, like, you know, when they turn from a boy and a girl into puberty, that's when they're considered an adult in the tribe, right? 7 to 8 years of age is when it starts. You know, some, girls are bleeding really young these days, 8, 9, 10. If you don't treat them as an adult then and grieve the fact that you've lost your little boy or your little girl, and when I say lost, it's an age, developmental age. You're never going to get your 5-year-old little 4 or 5, you cuddle me, oh, cuddles, mum and dad. Like, you're never going to get that again. When you can respect their age and grieve the fact that they've passed that now, and you'll really be present with who they are now. And that's how you keep your child close to you, when you're actually grieving through the stages, right? Because you're accepting them and that for who they are right now, not when they were, back when they're 2, when they want cuddles all the time. When they hit puberty, they don't want to be near you. If you don't respect that, you're going to push them away further. Right? Now, please know, Michelle, with what I'm saying, you're not doing anything wrong, or you haven't done anything wrong, okay? I'm just explaining the stages and how important it is to grieve the depth of this loss right now, okay? When you hit that point of the grief of actually grieving what you've lost, right? Not just the situation that's happened right now, that's probably like a big chunk of the surface of it. Underneath, if you go deeper with the grief and allow yourself to go deeper over time, and grieve these parts, you'll create, what you do is you create energetic space in the relationship between you guys. That's how you bring someone close to you, is you grieve it, because all that grief sits there and they don't want to be around you because they feel it, right? We're empaths, we're sensitive souls, we feel it all the time. But as an empath, as a child, they feel it tenfold. We feel it tenfold, they feel it 50 millionfold. And the thing is with children is they don't consciously understand what's going on, and that's why it's all get conducive and kids are like running around ADD or whatever, because they're like got all these feelings that they're feeling their parents' shit, actually, right? And the parents are not dealing with their stuff. And so it gets passed down generation, until we go, you know what? I'm actually going to feel the depth of not only heal my own stuff, but also what's going on and the loss of my child, of the stages of development. Because if you don't, you cling on to them, you push them away, and that's where all the issues are. So now I'm not saying, Michelle, what you've done is what you've pushed her away. Okay, again, I'm giving you these tools of healing the depth of what you've gone through. It's huge being a single mother all those 8 years. I'm assuming you've been a single mother all those years. So when you're losing hope about her coming back to you, I'm like, can you just lose hope about her coming back to you? It's the same thing of nobody's ever going to love me again. I'm going to be alone forever. It's well, can you just be with that for a minute? Can you really be with that for a minute? And when you really drop into the truth of it, you're actually grateful for the space, right? And so when you come into a space of I'm losing hope about her coming back to you, what that actually is the feelings are coming up that she's not here and I've lost her. That's what's actually going on here. You're I'm losing hope again because this next wave of grief is rising of the fact that you have. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so I thought, okay. Daughter says my house is shit, too small, judges me for just working as a nanny part-time, not finishing uni. Of course, 100%. She will pick apart everything, especially with that influence in her ear, okay? And I want to say expect it. When we expect it, it still hurts and cuts deep like anything. But when we know what's actually in her ear and in her energetic space, we know it's not her, we grieve the loss and we keep our energetic space free, because usually there'll come a point, okay, what you have to remember, Michelle, is that, I'm trusting Michelle's still here. What you have to remember, Michelle, is that for 15 years, you've brought her up. As the conscious mother that you are, as the conscious, loving, dedicated, devoted mother that you are, for 15 years, you've brought her up. Now, of course, a child goes through fucking, get me away from my dad, whatever, because She's, you know, and at that age too, by the way, 14 to 16, and really needing the dad. Like, it's a structure, it's a support, because as they go out into the world at 14 years of age, the child's like, I don't need either parent, they can fuck right off. If they haven't had the dad from 7 to 14, there comes a point where they need that. It's because it's a masculine structure, it's reality. Masculine is very reality energy, it's a very physical space, yeah? That's why this is going on, okay? And when you say, you know, like, you know, she won't come back to you, whatever, the thing is as well is that in that, like, when you can keep doing all of this healing and grieving the loss, and when those waves come, grieve, like, you're creating energetic space. At some point, right, along the journey, even if it's in 10 years time, okay, something will shift in her and she'll be like, oh, I had dad now. Okay, where's mum? Like, energetically, because what she's doing is she's rebalancing as well. Okay, so yeah, apart from crying a lot lately as well right now, how do I grieve this? Yeah, crying. You could cry for 18 months, okay? The thing is when we commit to healing something, from that point, I want to say, give your mind, give your awareness 18 months of crying. Now you might be like, fuck, Hannah, that is so long. What the fuck are you talking about? 18 months? Like, come on now. I don't want to do that. Okay? What I'm saying is these waves will come in the depth of grief, right? You'll just feel better, and then poof, something will happen again. And if you can let yourself ride this depth for the next 18 months, okay, from this point where you said, okay, Hannah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be alone for the next 18 months, like talking about Billy here, I'm not sure if she's still here, but it's kind of like, okay, if I give myself 18 months to heal and let myself feel and be in this and do all the things just for me, right? Just, you know, the thing about giving yourself like an 18-month time frame is it stops you, okay? It stops you from going, oh, I'm crying again, there's something wrong with me, what have I done, why is this still happening, right? Because when you look at how old you are, 48, 44, I don't know, 35, like you've got 35 years to clear, you've got 44 years to clear, you've got 48, like I don't give a fuck what anyone says about quantum shifts and overnight healing. You cannot bypass the feelings of 50 years of living your fucking life in manipulation, abuse, trauma and shit. I'm sorry, but you cannot snap your fingers and it be done, because it's sitting in your energy field, it's sitting in your repressed emotions, and you're probably sick as fuck about it, like physically ill, okay? Sure, there might be machines out there. Sure, bring them on until they're here and everybody has available access to them without paying 100K for a session. Like, this is how we do it, okay? Give yourself 18 months in your head, so that from this point in time, or maybe you started doing it in April or something, just have an awareness. It could heal faster. It could heal a bit longer. If you let yourself know that, okay, Hannah said 18 months, cool, got it. Like, there's something about that 18-month healing cycle, and I've talked about this a lot in my other live streams, and I'm writing about it in depth in my book. There's something about this 18-month healing cycle that when you can allow yourself 18 months to just drop into the waves when they come, and you ride them to the depth that they come, okay, you'll find that the first few months will just be like, like full on. And then it'll be a longer gap and a longer gap and a longer gap in between what's happening, like these waves, yeah? Now, at 18-month point, it'll feel like day one, okay? And it's like the final sort of big clear out. There's a 3-year point as well, but the first 18 months, okay, I want you to give yourself that in your head so that when these waves come up, you don't go into like, oh my God, I should have dealt with this by now. Why is this coming around again? Why am I still crying? Why haven't I sorted my shit out? Blah, blah, blah. No. Here's another wave. I'm fucking willing to do it. Right? You have to remember you've got however many 30, 40, 50 years of your life to clear out, especially if you haven't done this before. You might have tried every healing therapy under the fucking sun, okay? Doctor, fast food, vegan, raw food, whatever the fuck it is, okay? But if you do not let yourself feel, you will never heal. Yeah? Michelle says, I do need to clean and declutter my house though before she comes home. Okay, good. Right, so you don't want her home right now because you're not ready, are you? Okay? So just know that when those next waves come, okay, it's because you're like, oh, I'm losing hope again. It's like, yep, because the next wave of the fact that she's gone is coming out. Yeah, the next wave. I was just about to say something. And that's hard too, about the needle shit. Sally says, it makes so much sense. Thank you. I don't hate myself, but definitely hate my parents. So there's an inherent mirror there, right? Still can't feel like I can heal though from everything I've been through. I've put them behind me, but I feel like I need to move away. The medical issues I'm having with the doctors, still not knowing what's wrong with me, doesn't help either so hard. Yeah, and do you know why that is? Because it's emotional. When the doctors can't find anything and you've had every test under the sun, it's because it's emotional. Yeah? So, yeah. Yeah, definitely stuff we can work with there. And sometimes we will feel like we need to move away, but those issues will come with you. Just a little tip. It's like if it's in flow and you're like, yes, moving away is a good thing and it's in flow and it's happening really easily, like go with it. Trust yourself, okay? But if you're like forcing it and you keep getting blocked and blocked and blocked, it's like because you just need to deal with it. And then sometimes you find you're like, oh, I don't need to move away. Because what we're doing is running away from the really painful feelings. Trust me, I know that one inside out too. Yeah, that generation, Leanne, is huge, right? And they do. They love us in our own way, 100%. They usually don't love us in the way that we need it in those moments, and that's the hardest. And then when we heal the grief, the fact that our mother, our parents will never be able to give us what we need. They never did, and they still never will, and they never understand us, and they never will. When we grieve that, just like what I was sharing with Michelle, when you grieve the fact that she's gone, you're creating energetic space so that you can be present with who they are. And we know on that spiritual guru level, like, oh, they were doing the best they can and they do love me, right? But underneath you're still like, but fucking nightmare, right? And this is where it's like when we feel this and heal and grieve that gives space for us to truly embody the spiritual guru teaching of we do fully accept them, because it's a full body acceptance. There's no shit in the space of like, but you didn't, because we've dealt with that. And that's where the real healing comes from, to be able to have a relationship with them. Because at its core, everybody wants a relationship with their parents. Right? If all the shit and trauma was cleared out, everybody wants a relationship with their parents. At its core. Deep down you do. And sometimes we need to take space to heal that, of what happened first, 100%. Yeah? And then we go back into the relationship with boundaries, with more awareness, with acceptance of who we are, what our needs are, and where our lines are, by the way. We come back clearer, with stronger boundaries, with more acceptance, with a genuine, authentic relationship, rather than all the stuff playing out. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so Michelle said, when I wake up in the mornings, I often feel unmotivated and sad because I remember my daughter is not with me and I'm losing faith about her coming home. Yeah, so these mornings are the most potent spaces that you can use for healing. So sometimes we're like, okay, I've got to get up and do all this stuff. And the next, like, you know, at night time, we're like, oh, I'm going to have a best day and get all this stuff done. And then we wake up in the morning, we're like, ugh. And we're just like, and then we're more angry because we're like, I was going to get all this stuff done. If we can learn to ride these waves and you know, in your head again, like the biggest thing about giving yourself time frames, guys, when you're healing is that we're able to do it. So for example, you wake up and you feel like that. Okay. I want you to then go, okay, until, especially if you've got time and space to do it and you don't have to go to work or something, like let yourself do this. You're like, okay, until 11 a.m., I'm just going to mosey around and feel unmotivated and feel shit. Now, every therapist would probably say that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to think positive and shift it. And I'm like, can you just fucking accept this is how you feel right now? Can you be authentic in feeling this right now? Right? You might want to get out the watercolor paints. You might want to sit there and drink 5 coffees. You might want to sit there and cry. You know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, just, can you just give yourself the space? Okay? Because in that unmotivation is a whole pile of suppressed feeling. And if you don't let yourself feel that when it's there, you'll just be angry. Or you'll just be more unmotivated and feel more hating on yourself because you didn't do it. You just haven't done anything all day. But if you just give yourself a time frame until until 11 a.m, I'm just going to be in it. I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to lay in bed because I don't feel like getting out, right? But by 11 a.m, that's when you are going to get out of bed, for example, okay? What happens is this magic thing happens is that whatever needs to come out will come out by 11 a.m. Don't believe me? Try it. Yeah? Especially if you have to go to work or something. Like say you have to go to work at 1. You're like, I was going to do all this shit this morning, but I feel like shit. So I'm just going to sit here in bed until 11 a.m. because then I do need to get up and have a shower and go to work, right? For example. And if you truly gave yourself that authentic grace and love, do you know what that is when you do that, by the way? It's love. That's love for yourself. You're loving yourself with how you're feeling in those moments. That's love, guys. Okay? This is an act of self-love. Yeah? And just a little side note, random example. Like if you had a partner, right, and we want a relationship or whatever the story is, and they're like coming in and like, get out of bed, and like you should be doing this. Like that's what we want. We want our partner to come in and say, would you like me to make a cup of tea? You seem really sad. Like that's love. And so that's how we should be treating ourselves, because that's how we want to be treated. Right? Ding! You're training yourself, okay? So it's important to let yourself do that, because you might find, right, because some things that happen in that space is like you've given yourself until 11 a.m, right? And then by 9 a.m, you're bawling your eyes out crying, okay? And then like this huge wave comes out, and then by 10 a.m, you start to pull yourself out and it's like, whoa, that was a big wave, right? And then you might make a cup of tea or have something to eat, and then you like clean all this stuff up and you declutter this cupboard that's been sitting there for years, right? And you've been sitting there for years because like all of a sudden you just did it in half an hour and you went to work. So you've had a very productive day. But do you know why that cupboard got cleaned out? Because you cleaned out the cupboards that were cluttered in here. It had been buried in the heart. Clutter around the house is cluttered emotions. It's a direct reflection of what's buried in here. Yeah? Okay, so I would be authentically waving through emotions. And I'm really getting time frames are really important for you, Michelle. So, like honoring the cycles, time frames of your daughter growing up. Then also current issue of her leaving and what you are copying right now. And sometimes it's really confronting when somebody's like, the house is always this, you do that, blah, blah, blah. And we're just like, oh my fucking God, is that how you really think about me? Is that what's really going on? But when we can actually look at it, that's a shadow part. Like deep down, like as you said, you're like, but I do need to like declutter the house. And it's kind of like, well, she's speaking the truth. Nothing you ain't know, but you've just been suppressing it or, because you've been busy as a mum, whatever, right? And again, you have to remember that decluttering is the emotional clutter. People struggle with decluttering. It's like you need to focus on decluttering your heart, not focus on the physical stuff. Like you can force yourself, but most of the time you'll just pick it up and throw it back down again, right? Or you just you'll just ignore it, right? If you can focus on honoring your heart, that's what will shift everything else, yeah? Yeah, exactly, right? Because you just said, I find it so hard to declutter and clean. Yeah, exactly, because it's the grief that needs to come out. If you focus on the grief and not the clutter, you'll find the clutter will come later, and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh my God, it's done, right? It might be in 6 months' time because you need to cry for 6 months first, okay? As a example. Decluttering the heart, yeah, it's a big one, yeah? So even if for 6 months, I'm just writing this here. It feels like the time frames are important for you, okay? To have a time frame, because otherwise we're just in the mess of like, she's never coming back or whatever, okay? So writing these time frames down, it's not that you have to stick to them, okay? You trust your intuition over what I'm saying here, But I feel a part of the healing for you, Michelle, is to have time frames like, okay, until 11 a.m. I'm going to sit here. Like those examples that I gave you, really will help you at this time. So what you're copying with them, speaking about stuff to you, cry about it, and heal the physical layer. And I feel like support, like being around people who understand the emotions is going to be really supportive for you right now. So Karen said, I just decluttered a room and it was an emotional thing. It's a thing, guys. So yeah, where are we here? So decluttering the heart, even if for 6 months, like your self-grief. So support. So be around people who get it. So my reality awareness support group, I'm about to release some exciting news about some things that I'm going to be doing in there. Obviously the Haven, it's $49 a month, you know, to have this sort of support every week, you know, and just be with people who are, you know, willing to heal and willing to look at the depth of what's actually physically going on for them. So yeah, so be supportive. Like you could do meditations and stuff, but I'm not really getting that for you, Michelle. Like, of course you can clear energy, clear chakras, all that sort of stuff should be like, you know, important and should be done daily. Like, you know, that should be happening. But even like, I don't know if you burn sage or anything like that, but that will just help clear the energy of the house. It's the energy of the house. But the biggest thing, biggest healer right now is going to be people who get it and nature, being in nature, because that reconnects you back to your heart. And the other message that just dropped in, refinding what makes you happy. Now you might be like, but my daughter does. And then the grief comes out again. Beyond your daughter. What does Michelle like to do? You might not know the answer to that now, but that's also going to start helping you to quote unquote deal and be in this space, yeah? We can definitely learn collectively. That's why listening in on these live streams, yeah, really be helpful. You know, like we learn so much, right? Even, was it, you know, like I said, like you don't have to sit here and watch me. I'm just sitting here. I'm just on the video. Like you can have it on your AirPods while you're cleaning, while you're doing dishes, you know, like multitask. Okay, we can get shit done. Because I'm always talking for a long time. So this is for Michelle. I'm just going to pop that in there so you can screenshot, copy it, whatever. It's just the notes that I took and then what I recommend for you at the end there. So Angela said, this is all very thought-provoking. Listening to your advice to Billy, I've been able to work out what's going on with me. See? That's why the Haven healing is like healing. My sister and I were accidents and my mum never wanted to be a mum. Do you know do you know what's sitting open on my computer of a blog that I wrote? I'll pop the link in the comments now actually. It's the unplanned pregnancy wound. It's a quite long blog. It's quite a long quite a long blog. And I wrote it a couple of years ago now. The unplanned pregnancy wound. Whether you are the mother or whether you were an accident, this can really be helpful. So obviously that was already in the others of coming out. So I'll just pop the link in so you can read that at a later point. I will post it publicly as well. Obviously I was already getting that sense. Okay, so this is all very thought-provoking. My sister and I were accidents and mum never wanted to be a mum. I just realized that because mum has zero care for us and is just interested in her boyfriends. I realize now that I've given every ounce of my energy to my son so he would feel cared for. Yeah, I know that feeling, right? In doing this, I have stopped looking after me. Maybe I didn't feel worthy of care due to my mum not caring about me. My dad died at 16 years ago and he was our maternal parent and covered up for mum's lack of maternal care. Oh, that's huge. That's huge. So then I would look at, like, you know, it's same sort of question of what I said to Michelle. It's like, what makes you happy? What would caring for you look like? If you were loved by a mum and you wanted to be, you know, feel that love, what would that be? And that's when we do give that to our kids, right? I know that one well. So it is coming into that point of you, yeah, like, sorry, I just saw you posted another comment here about that. Okay, so Michelle, I'm seeing more of your comments there too, so I hope that that's helped you as well. Yes, Patrick, exactly. I don't want to be needed. I don't want to be wanted. I want to be wanted. And if I start with myself, I'll magnetize the same. Exactly. I don't need you, but I want you. Exactly, yeah? I just realized even though I try to help my nieces, they're at the age when my mother was abusive to us and I hate fighting with them. Yeah, so important, guys. When you're going through something with your child, the first thing to do, or children, or a situation with children, is to ask yourself, like the first step in healing is to ask yourself, what was going on when I was that age? 100%. And there'll be something. There'll be a similar thread, and you need to clear that first before you deal with your child. Why? Because otherwise it's a generational pass down and you're focusing on your child when actually you need to deal with this lineage, and then we can come back and reassess. Okay, yeah? So important. Okay, awesome, mind-blowing, awesomeness. I love this. Yes. It's deep, right? It's deep, and I love you guys are here because you're here for the deep. The deep's where it's at. I just love doing this. Okay, so Regina says really lost all motivation. Okay, is Christina still here as well? Because I was coming back to her, so just checking if Christina is still here. Regina says really lost all motivation. I've been alone for a long time. I know what has started this part of my journey. I'm definitely not up for having someone in my life as a partner right now. Exactly. Honestly, it's so freeing when we can really own that. When we can really own that, right? Karen says, I cried for about a year and fell so hard I went on meds, but now I'm feeling again. I've been crying out of the blue and accepting it now. Yeah, honestly, it's so important. Yeah, and so Tracy, when you say I still cry for my baby dogs, I lost them a year ago, missing them so much, especially when we lose an animal or something, like you have to understand that when we start walking this path of feeling to healing, to, you know, to move on, etc., or to feel to heal, is that when we grieve, say, about our dog or about the situation, when we really allow ourselves, say, for example, the 18-month time frame, when you drop into grief about something that, I don't know, the glass broke and it was this last straw and you just burst out crying, whatever, right? You're crying about the glass. What you have to understand is when you've learned to drop in and allow yourself this level of grief, what happens, okay, especially if you just like got the 18-month container, for example, okay, in your mind, the back of your mind, what actually comes up is grief about the boyfriend that broke up with you when you were 16, your mum walking out of the house in an anger fit when you were 7. You know, like you don't know the depth of what's coming up when you allow yourself to grieve. And that's why, like, you still cry for your baby dogs. Like, sure, I know what that's like too. Like, you still cry for your animal. Okay, 100%. But when it's especially like been a year and you're still like it was yesterday, by the way, a 12-month timeline point will feel like it's yesterday. Little side note, okay? But also there'll be the loss of all the other things in your life that's coming up, and we're not conscious of that. So this is why it's so important to just be like, you know, you can even have in the back of your mind, like, I'm actually grieving from, healing from a lot more than I'm conscious of right now, because we are, right? Lan says, yes, definitely those fucking waves come and go, even though it's so hard, it's relieving. Yeah, it is. It's so hard, but it is relieving too. Yeah. Afterwards, the next day usually, not that day at all. Trust me, it's not, nope, go away that day. Okay, Christina's still here, awesome. So Christina was talking about physical health, being sick all week but recovering all the time, wearing a mask the entire time from touching a surface, being to the doctor. And so I asked you, I'm like, did the doctor tell you that you're sick because you touched a surface? And I asked you, do you believe that you are sick from touching a surface? And you said, definitely not. You also put here, my mum told us many years ago in our teens, me and my siblings, that she wanted to date again. We said, yeah, okay, whatever. Don't know why you really needed to ask us. And then she asked us, well, what we would think. She dated a woman. Okay, okay. Then she asked us, well, what would we think if I dated a woman? Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't know how to completely accept this aspect at the time. So that created a lot of pain for her. So does this have an energetic imprint or impact on me that I'm needing to shift? I imagine so, like in a sense of what though? And I'll just see if there's any more comments here that you've put in there. Kari says, wow, thanks, really needed to hear that. It's a miracle. Yes, awesome, awesome, awesome. So incredibly powerful to be truthful to yourself of how you feel. I don't know if I said that before. I did see a comment before, but it's worthy of another voice. It is. It so is. So, Angela, I'm just going to come back to this comment. I just want to speak to Christina for a moment. Okay, cool. You've had chakra healings. Awesome. So yeah, you can use my chakra clearing meditation. You can do that yourself. You can do it outside in the sunlight, in nature, etc. Just important to keep your energy, like, you know, just do those, I want to say, basic self-care clearings and healings at this time. Yeah. So Christina says, I'm beginning to arrange more social outings as life has also been work, school, and gym. Okay, Christina's still here. Okay. All right. And so, question for you, Christina. What do you think the sickness is really about? Before I say anything else. Okay. And so Angela says, I still keep trying to get my mum to show care to me. I grieve every time she hurts me, but I can't seem to separate from her, and I accept that I'm never going to get it. Can't give up, and it hurts me. When my dad died, it was like I lost both parents because he was playing both roles. Yes. Everything you're saying is really helping me to work it out. Yes. I think I've worked out that I've stopped caring for myself and I'm allowing my health to deteriorate because I'm waiting for my mum to care for me. Yeah. And so I want to say you won't, this is like a bit of a black and white statement. It's a fine line and it's not the truth, but it is the truth. You won't care for yourself until you grieve the fact that you never got that from your mum. You never will. And it's just the reality that it is. Like, you know, like until you fully grieve that, you won't even feel like, you'll try to take care of yourself. You're like, I need to take care of myself. It's a bit like, I need to forgive them, right? You'll try to take care of yourself. Maybe you'll get a couple of early nights, or maybe there'll be a week in the month that you'll be like, yeah, I'm taking care of myself. And then woof, it just hits again, right? Like, so if you can be conscious that, okay, yeah, I've come to the realization and the hard, cold reality fact that that's my mum. I'm never going to get that sort of love from her. I never did. I'm so heartbroken about this. This is how my life is because of it. Again, we want to feel those authentic feelings. Like, how did it get to this point? Blah, 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 blah. I can't separate from her. And by the way, another little on here. You said, I can't seem to separate from her and I accept that I'm never going to get it, but I can't give up. It hurts. Every time I try to get her to show that she cares, it's like she hurts you again. And I want to point out, do you know what that is? That is a form of love that you've learned to receive. Okay, I'm not going to get the love that I need from her, but through me trying and then she hurts me, that's how I know that she loves me. Now that's fucked up, okay? But that is the basis of what society has learned that love is. And I'm talking about this in my other book really deeply because it's like, it's such a thing. People, and again, it's not anyone's fault, okay? It's the way society's been raised for a fucking purpose, okay? So that they can loosh off us, blah, 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 blah. It's a whole nother conversation. And the biggest shift comes when, even though I'm not getting the love that I need, the form of connection is fighting and hurt and pain. And that way there's something, it's a bit like me. living on the other side of Australia for 20 years and I've ended up on 250 acres, fuck knows how, because in both my family lineages, they've had property their entire freaking lives, and it's in the lineages, and so that's the way I feel connected to my family, even though I'm out here alone. Does that make sense? It's like this unconscious need for connection is how we know that we still belong, that we're loved, that we're okay, otherwise I'm gonna fucking die. Like, that's the reality of a family bond and time. Spoke about this again in the live stream the other day. And so, like, can't separate from her, because that level of fighting, hurting you again, is also a connection point. So there's a big rewiring, and this is like the basis of domestic violence. This is the basis of like why people go back to the relationship over and over and again, whether it's a parent, lover, blah, blah, blah. They're like, it's terrible, it's toxic, but then they're back again. And you're like, what? And it's because that's a form of love that they've known how to receive, even though it's toxic, violent, blah, blah, blah. It's I belong somewhere. Somebody actually loves me because there's a fight. Like, it's a fucked up thing, okay, 100%, and people go, that's fact, but it's actually like on a deep sort core subconscious thing, it's reality, and it's rife through reality, through people, yeah. Negative attention is still attention, yeah, and I don't like that, because it's like, oh, you're doing it for negative, like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but when we look at the deep core threads of it, it's because that's how they've learnt to love, because, you know, and so for you, Angela, there's a big rewiring of what love is. Yeah, that will take time for sure. There's a spark of emotion, even though it's a negative one. Exactly. And so this is a big rewiring for you about what love is. You know, and you know it's toxic love, like 100%, but there'll be an there's a chemical reaction, and that's where that is. And so it is like a deep physical breaking of that for you too. Boundaries, not playing into behaviors anymore, rewriting, like lots of writing I'm getting for you, Angela, like rewriting what love is, lots of, you know, like following conscious couples, you know, who've got a beautiful, conscious, connected relationship online, books, read about them, etc. Like, absorb yourself around that to start rewiring energetically as well what conscious, happy, healthy love is, I should say. So yeah, exactly. I show this positive love to everyone, but I don't expect it from myself. Cool. So there's a rewiring to happen there as well. Okay. So I definitely work with that. Okay. So rewiring. By the way, when you start breaking those old patterns and behaviors of the negative love connection, it will feel like death warmed up grief. Yeah, and it's okay to feel that. That's how you heal, to be able to really let in the conscious, happy love. Even just be mindful of what you're watching on Netflix, movies, etc., because usually we're attracted to really sort of, I don't know, violent, toxic, unhealthy shows of love stuff. And if you look at what you watched mainly growing up, that's all sort of imprinting. It's all imprinting. So that's why reading books, social media, movies, etc., on like conscious, healthy love. Even families, like obviously this is family, but it delves into relationship patterns as well. Yeah, so a lot of physiology stuff, physiology, brain, chemistry, rewiring will start happening here. And because you're good at doing it for everyone else, good at doing it for everyone else but yourself. Every time you give to someone like that, you turn around and do the same for you in those moments, because, and it might even be a thought, you're like, oh, Hannah said I now have to do it myself, and I'm like, I don't fucking want to do that, I'm not doing that. And then you might distract yourself with, you know, I don't know, making Play-Doh or something and having fun with the kids. I don't know how old your kids are, but you know, it's like, you know, you'll catch and you'll be like, oh, now Hannah said I have to do that to myself. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Like that's part of the healing process. You're conscious of it, won't do it yet, right? It's not that you're wrong. It's this, you're not there yet, but you're conscious of it, and that's where it starts planting in. And we've all heard about mirror work, looking at yourself in the mirror and telling yourself you loved you. So love you. So every time you do that for someone else, go and do that for yourself in the mirror. Again, you'll be like, I'm not doing that. You'll avoid yourself looking in the mirror. Now I've said that for a period of time because it's coming. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to put that there, and then I'm coming, Christina, I was asking you a lot of questions. So this is for Angela. Michelle says, thank you, appreciate your guidance, feels helpful to get me back on track. I felt wobbly about moving forward the last few days and hopeless and like giving up and worried. I hope to be back more on track. Yeah, every time you feel that hopelessness, cry. The energy waves are really big on the collective level as well. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, it's like usually when we're feeling that, there's a big collective wave of it as well, and it's the perfect time to release for sure, but to know that it's not just you. Yeah, you are healing deeply, but there's a lot of big waves coming in too. Yeah, that's really huge. Wattle and Fern Photography. I'm not sure what your name is, but yeah, it's big. Okay, so Christina says, I've seen my son many times for this lifetime in visions, but briefly the man. Yeah, and freedom within yourself. Okay. And accepting something within myself. Yeah, okay. So just coming back here. So are you questioning your sexual orientation because of your mum suppressing hers, for example? And you say, accepting that I'm comfortable within myself, but I don't feel I can currently navigate that aspect properly. Is that like being with a man, do you mean? And so I feel like what I would work with is clearing out your mum's projections and suppressions, right? It's almost like, I want to say, stop trying to figure it out for yourself and clear, yeah, because of your mum, right? So clear that 15-year-old self. Is that what it was? Did you say about 15? I don't remember what age you said. I don't know if you said an age actually. In our teens. So I would work with, so I know you do this stuff with us because you've been in reality awareness for a bit. So inner child on the inner teen. So I would work with the inner child meditation on the inner teen. I'm getting it only 3 times to see what she says. Generational lift. If you can do the generational lift like 3 times, like if you've got time and space, do it. Like do the inner child meditation, then do the generational lift meditation. So I want to say immediately, if you can, or the same day, immediately after inner child. And when I say immediately, I mean like come out of inner child, write down in your journal, then go back in. So immediately after inner child. Okay, and then I'm also getting for you as well, releasing role meditation. So releasing role meditation because it's almost like you feel guilty. You feel guilty. It's interesting, right? Because I asked you, what do you want this for or whatever? And then you said freedom within myself, because you feel guilty and almost trapped and almost like it was your fault that your mum couldn't do what she wanted to do. And it's like you've taken that on. You're like, oh fuck, I stopped her from love, from having what she wants. And then if you look at how the relationship plays out now with your mum, and do you still feel like you need to rescue her because it's the guilt that's rescuing her because you took on, it wasn't your fault, okay? It wasn't your fault when you're a teenager and that happened, but you took that on. You're like, oh fuck, because what you would have taken on, like, oh, I stopped her from being free within herself and having what she wants, right? So I better not have what I want. I better not do that. And maybe if I like women, then mum would accept me, and then I would feel loved from mum, right? So what's going on underneath? Yeah, so maybe if I do that, but underneath, but you're having dreams about, visions about your son and a man, and so you're confused. Remember, confusion is taking on somebody else's energy. You're clear on what you want, but you're confused, right? Yeah, true, because then she married my stepdad and it wasn't great. Exactly. And you feel guilty about that. You feel like it's your fault, okay? Her not choosing to be free because of other people's opinions and reactions to her needing validation of her choices is not your fault. Yeah, I'll say that again. I don't know if I can remember it. That just flowed out. Let me see if I can type it down. Hang on a second. So, I'm going to have to rewatch that bit. That was a flow out. So fuck, this is what happens. So, yeah, so then she married your stepdad and it wasn't that great. So, yeah, I can't remember it. I'm going to have to write that down. I'm going to have to rewatch it to write it down. Like, you feel guilty because she didn't do what she wanted to do, but that bit, that was fucking gold in there. Okay, it's all right. We're gonna replay that bit. I've sent out the world boundaries to those who've leaped too much into my field. Yeah, and I guess, like, you know, boundaries are good in that regard and sent it out and blah, blah, blah. But if you still feel guilty, that boundary door won't shut. The gate will be fucking open and it's flooding onto you because it's actually the guilt that's letting it in. Yeah? So I would be working with your inner teen on releasing the guilt. It was not your fault that she didn't allow herself the freedom of her own choices because of the reaction of, I don't know, her needs, wants, that wasn't what I said. Because of the reaction of her needs, wants from other people, i.e. you, from other people she cares, she, you know, she values, like you and your siblings. Because she didn't trust herself enough. There we go. She didn't trust herself enough. So was looking for validation from other people. That wasn't what I said, but it was something along those lines, right? And so you took that on, feeling guilty. That guilt is still there. Until you clear that guilt, you won't stop carrying other people's energy, because that guilt is like, you know, the direct sort of portal to your mum, if you may, but also you took that on, feeling guilt. Like, you can put up boundaries and energy protection and all that stuff with anyone on the planet, but until you heal the guilt that you're carrying of your inner teenager for now your mum's unhappiness, right? And you're doing everything you can to, like, make sure she's happy, and like, okay, if I live on the other side of the world, like I'm living on the other side of Australia, like, you know, maybe then she can be happy because, you know, it was my fault that she didn't do because of what I said, and I'm so sorry, and I just want you to be happy. Yeah. And so it's like really looking and working with that guilt. So you could even do, so after you do that, original one. So releasing the role, you know, and it's like, just do the releasing roles meditation after you've done like I've got it there listed out for you. But the releasing role, just like, honestly, leave it open to what turns up. But what you're really doing is like the role of trying to keep her happy still to date, meaning like you're trying to keep her happy to date. Like you're not, what's that deeper thing? You're role trying to keep her happy still to date. What is it? It's the guilt. I'll just leave it like that. Like leave it open, but definitely do the releasing roles that you're, no, it's like, because you've taken on that it is your fault. She didn't trust herself enough, needed validation for her choices, which if you look around, what do you do every single fucking day? You look around for somebody to validate your choices, because I don't want to be unhappy, so somebody else choose it for me in case I choose the wrong thing, so I don't end up like that. That was the emotion speaking there. Which of you look around, what do you do? What do you do? Look for validation from everyone because you don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to get it wrong. Ouch. This is such a huge clearing. This is a life-changing clearing for you, Christina. This is massive. So you took on that guilt. So after you've done that healing protocol, I would work with the shadow meditation every day for 7 days. That's after the original healing protocol. I know you've got all these meditations because you're in the inner circle. Okay. So I'm just going to pop this in for you. Actually, I'll just check the comments first. And that's what you said. So I've accepted my mum for who she is with all her anger and suppressed feelings, but I do not want to live that. I want to feel through mine. Exactly, right? So when you work through this guilt and release the guilt off your, and that's why I said the generational lift, because it will help to lift that off, right? It's not yours. It's been clouding you since then, you know? Yeah, this is life-changing for you. It's life-changing for everyone, all this stuff, right? I'm sure. But I know we've worked together in the past. You've been in the inner circle. Like, I know your journey, you know? So I'm like, this is like key core, like, okay, I can do me now, or something huge. Yeah, death warmed up grief it's important to understand, like, you know, when we use language like that, it helps us to be okay with those feelings, knowing that that's what it feels like and this is part of the grief. Like when we've got a conscious understanding rather than something's wrong with me, it helps us to be in it, helps us to feel it, and we shift through it, right? So yeah. Awesome. Yes, awesome mirror work. Okay. All right. Yes, awesome. Guilt is a result of codependency. Work with your inner child. Yes, but where did that codependency stem from and come from? So I'm not sure if you just joined the live stream, Penelope, but I was just explaining all that in depth. Because codependency, like, well, how do you explain that to a 15-year-old, right? You're gonna understand where that codependent, how does codependency even get there, right? Yes, I look for the validation with this new job I can begin. So there we go. Oh boy, yes, thank you so much. I haven't wanted to begin this new job, but I wanted another job to meet new people. Yes, interesting, right? How about we just go and meet new people instead, in a way? Okay, so I was going to pop this in for you, this healing protocol, and the notes that I took as well from your comments in there for you. You know, coming back to the sickness, it's kind of like, if we even look at what the doctor said, like, oh, you touched a surface. Right? Sorry, I'm laughing. Maybe that's like a real thing, but anyway. You're sick. It's the surface. Oh, you touched the surface of somebody's emotions and you took on their projection of their not sure of themselves, you know, and because of that guilt, you're like, oh fuck, now look at her life, that was my fault, oh my god, didn't let them have freedom of self. As a 15-year-old, you shouldn't have even, that wasn't, as you said, like, it was weird, like, why did she even ask us, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, so, you know, if we look at the surface clearing off, what's underneath that is the guilt, and it's almost like, you know, I want to, you know, go to another job because I want to meet new people, so why can't you just meet new people? And it's like, because the guilt of actually being happy is actually like, well, I don't want to do that. I have to like go through this hard process to just fucking meet people. Why? Because, well, that's what mum did, and if I go through a hard process, well then I don't feel as guilty because look at her life. But what if you could have it free? What if you could just be happy and free? What if you don't have to have your mum's life? Yeah, good. Yeah, my intuition spoke to me right away after the doctor's diagnosis and went, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm sick because I touched a surface. Okay, maybe if you touched the surface of like a decaying body or some fucking shit, but come on, you didn't do that. Troy's talking about like the surface of a rail down at the beach where all the fresh salty areas. No, I'm being a bitch. Okay. The Haven is open. You can stay for as little or as long as you want. The $49 a month is there. You can come for just a month or longer if you know, whatever you choose, whatever healing you do. This live stream is an example, a demonstration of the depth of how I work, whether we're working one-on-one, we go a little bit deeper, of course, or in the Haven, this is really what we work with. Now, I'm a healer, but I do not heal you. I can help you understand what's going on deep inside of you, and then it's up to you to do the work of the rest of the stuff. I work with my clients to hold the space, to guide you step by step intuitively of the way, because when something comes up, it shifts and changes everything. It changes the reality, it changes the timeline. So, you know, one healing protocol like forever is usually not the way. It's fluid, it's synchronicity, it's intuitive, it moves, it changes depending on the depth you drop into in those moments. There's only so much healing we can do on our own. There is a lot we can do on our own for sure, and sometimes we need guidance and help and support and be around other people who get it. So that is really what the Haven is about. If you want to work one-on-one with me, of course you can do that as well. I'm going to pop the links in the comments for the Haven. There's if you want to book a phone call and just talk about it privately, that would be the psychic reading, 30-minute phone call. It is audio recorded. There's different levels of support in that, or if you really want to drop deep and shift so much, 21-day shifter is where it's at. But again, depending on where you want to move with your healing, the inner circle, the life purpose accelerator, the 12 months is really the depth of like turning your healing into your purpose, and where and why has this happened, and where does that lead you to now. So putting the links in the comments here for you guys. I'll pin this to the top. If you've got questions, send me a message. Otherwise, thank you for being here and dropping deep in with me, because not everyone goes this deep, loves going this deep, understands it, and you're here because you're ready to heal and claim your fucking life back. Let's be real. So I'm sending you guys lots of love. Have a beautiful weekend. See you soon.